Hello, Liverpool fans. Welcome to the Liverpool Reaction, an American LFC podcast. Coach Ralph and I are excited to bring you this podcast. From games to players to club news, we cover everything LFC. You can find us on every platform and YouTube. Please take a second to follow or subscribe to the podcast. That way, you know when the latest podcast is up. Thank you for listening, and now on to the show. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Liverpool Reaction, an American LFC podcast. This week, Coach is traveling, so I am joined by one of our previous guests, Jeff Ottenreith. Jeff, what's going on, man? How are you?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. Can't complain. So today's topic is Liverpool transfer news. And actually, from a transfer news standpoint, it's been very quiet. Fulham and Liverpool are the only teams in the Premier League to not have made a transfer. And this is the first time Liverpool has gone without a transfer since 1996. So, yeah.
Just, wow. I mean, there's still time, but.
Yeah, and this exercise was kind of interesting because as I kind of went through it, I can kind of see why they haven't really jumped in onto anything like crazy. But there is one guy that keeps popping up from a transfer rumor perspective, and it's Takefusa Kubo from Real Sociedad, an attacking midfielder who's 23 years old. I don't know that we need another midfielder, but, you know, maybe this is a guy that can kind of play up front. But then again, I don't know that we need another forward. But that's in around 65 million, which seems steep for an attacking midfielder that we know not much about. But Dominic Szoboszlai was like that last year, and we were all very impressed with him, especially at the beginning of the season. He kind of ran out of steam a little bit at the end. So Jeff,
yeah,
we kind of positioned this discussion over, we'll kind of talk about positions needed, and then we'll kind of dive into some guys that we like.
Yeah, 100%.
Why don't you start?
So I looked at it, like I had to like write down the players on the field like a formation, and like go through like, okay, like do we have a starting 11, and then do we have backup for each one of those positions? And I mean, everybody's so interchangeable the way that the squad's been built, that it's like we have 5 forwards in Gakpo, Diaz, Nunez, Jota, and Salah. Do we really need a 6th one? Like, you know what I mean? But that being said, for the exercise, I was like, yeah, there's probably really not a natural replacement for Salah on that side. I mean, could Jota play over there? Yeah. Could Gakpo play over there? Diaz? Yep. But that being said, like I have that as like an opening. And then same thing in midfield, like we have McAllister and Elliott and Jones and Szoboszlai, Gravenberch. You know, could they do for another one? I mean,
yeah, Endo.
Oh yeah, sorry, Endo.
Yeah.
And then it's like there's a lot of games. That's the thing. The fixtures list is crazy, so you do have to keep fresh. And then, you get Bajcetic just coming back from injury. So that's the other thing that I had to keep in mind while I was doing this, is that there's a couple guys. Berg is another one that was like starting to make some strides last year, and then he got a horrific injury and he was out all year. So it's one of those where like, okay, like maybe we don't really need a lot, but for the sake of this exercise, I picked a central defender, a defensive center mid, or versatile center mid, really, because we don't really play with a traditional defensive center mid. You know what I mean? It's not usually the style, and maybe Arne Slot's going to have something different. But and then I also picked a forward. So those 3, I'd like one for each area. And I also looked at the goalkeepers, because there's a lot of talk about Kelleher going out, which I honestly think he deserves it at this point. He deserves to be the number 1 somewhere. As a backup keeper, he's better than probably half of the keepers that start in the Premier League. So, I think he's probably going to end up going somewhere before the end of the season. And there's 2 kids in the academy that are coming up as keepers that could really just serve as a backup that I like. So that's kind of how I went about it. As I looked at, things like, how is Slot going to incorporate the youth, into the team, because that would change what we really need for the transfer market. And like, who does he really rate? Like maybe some of the guys that we really thought were great, he doesn't think are great, vice versa. So that's kind of how I went about it, is just saying like, yeah, I think a center defender, a midfielder, like a sort of versatile midfielder, and then, a forward, that can maybe float across the front 3.
Okay, awesome. I like how you did it, like put the players on a pitch, kind of, to get an idea, and then replacements. I like that. I didn't do it that way, but I really like that that thought process. So it kind of made things pretty clear visually, for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
I mean, there's 28 guys on the preseason tour, and there's like a bunch of guys that aren't on that preseason tour that are still like going to be in the squad that like played late international fixtures. So it's like 28 people. I mean, and I know there's a decent amount of academy kids in there and everything. And we saw them in the, the Caribou Cup last year, really make waves. So, there's a role for some of these kids to play, I'm sure. But for the sake of this exercise, I'm trying to bring in like just somebody that can enter the first team, no problem, no questions asked, versus like, can this kid cut it sort of thing. Like that's kind of the way I looked at it. So.
Okay, so let's dive into it with defensive midfielder. I think that's the biggest need. I like Endo a lot. I think he ran out of gas about halfway through the season and took him a little bit to kind of get going. But there was a period of about 8 to 10 weeks where he was very good. So now understanding the Liverpool system and knowing that Arne Slot's tactics aren't Klopp's, but they're very similar. So I think his second year will be beneficial. But the way I looked at this is, how do we get somebody else in to keep McAllister from having to drop in due to injury? We need McAllister further up the pitch. He's awesome. He was great for Argentina in the Copa America. Like, we know what he's done at Brighton. We know what he's capable of. So I'll select one, Jeff, and then you go, and then you take one. Yeah. I have actually a lot of people on this one, but it's more, it's more for discussion purposes. But my first one is Joshua Kimmich from Bayern Munich. Traditionally a right back, but can play center back and defensive midfielder. The way I look at this guy is a Thiago type of player, but not as smooth and probably technically gifted as Thiago, but a guy that can make passes, can intercept, can defend, and a guy that is really different from Endo and Bajcetic. He's 29 years old. His market value, and I looked at this through a website called transfermarket.us, is $55 million, and I'm doing everything in dollars just for it. And I thought that's too much for a 29-year-old. He doesn't kind of fit that mold. Endo's 31 or 32 already, so this guy probably, unless we get him for like under 40 million, it's not really worth it. But if it's around 40 and under, I think it's definitely worth a look.
Yeah, no, he was on my list too, by the way. So,
okay.
Yeah, definitely somebody that I highly rate. And I think like what I wrote down next to his name, like why would he be kind of top of my list? He's still in his prime. He's towards the end of his prime, but he's definitely still in his prime. You're going to get a good few years out of him for sure. He's super versatile. So like he can play center back, he can play right back, he can play defensive center mid. Like he can really cover a lot of spaces for us, which I think is value in its own. Mm-hmm. And he's a fairly big guy. He's like 6 feet tall. You know what I mean? Like he's a powerful, like strong guy. So I think having that kind of steel in the squad would definitely, again, compared to some of the other, like McAllister's not a big guy, right? to just name one. Like Soboslai is a pretty big dude, and Gravenberch is very tall, but like, just would be a little bit different of a specimen on the field.
Yeah.
For mine, the other one that I had written down that was, maybe a little bit of a dream would be Federico Valverde from Real Madrid.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, Uruguayan, 26. The market value on it was like 120 million euros. So maybe a little out of the price range too. But the thing is that Real Madrid has Tchouaméni and I'm forgetting somebody else. It's one of those, like, they have a clogged midfield, right? They still have I know Cruz is retired, but Modric is still in there. So like, it's one of those where I could see them making a play for him, and maybe not this year, but he would be somebody that you could get even next year when he's 27 and still get super value out of him. And he can do it all. Like, I watched him at the Copa this year, and he was everywhere. I mean, true box to box, just everywhere. So I would love to have him in the squad. I think he could release a lot of the other guys to kind of be special like they are. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the other guy you were looking for in the Real Madrid is Cavani. Not Cavani. Camavinga.
Thank you. Yeah. So, if that's a lot of talent in a midfield, and all the other guys except for obviously Modric are younger than him.
Mm-hmm.
Funny. So anyway, it's just one of those. It looks like there could be an opportunity, especially if he starts to lose playing time, where he might be available. Like, I think I've read here and there that he's being considered, but at the same time, Kimmich is more realistic, as he's already stated that he's kind of ready to make a move and try something else. And he's even said the Premier League is where he wants to be. So, I think he's more realistic, but if, Valverde is definitely on my short list of backup options. He has a teammate on Uruguay that I also really like, Bentancur from Tottenham.
Yeah.
So a different type of player though. So I don't know if he's not really what I call a defensive central mid.
Yeah, he's got injury. That guy's had bad injury luck too, man. He is a good player.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, so my next guy is I'm going to breeze over him pretty quick. I'm going to breeze over the next two pretty quick, but João Neves from Benfica. So his market value, according to Transfer Market, is $60 million. However, his release clause is $130 million, and PSG are going after him hard. So I think that one is pretty much done. We know Liverpool's not going to pay that kind of money although he's very talented, he's 19, he's young. I don't think that's kind of talent we can just kind of plug and play, and it's too expensive. Next guy is Martin Zubamendi from Real Sociedad, 25 years old, $55 million. Really, really good tackler. I never heard of the guy, so I just kind of plugged him into YouTube, and I know YouTube does highlight the very best plays, but I kind of look at like the kind of plays that are made versus like the amount of them versus, like the highlight reel, and everything I saw was just like him constantly sticking his foot in the air, like charging up the pitch to tackle a ball and like get the ball. So I really liked him. At 25 years old, that's a really good kind of age where you sign the guy for a 4 or 5 year deal. You got somebody that's proven. He's been playing since 2020 in Real Sociedad's first team. So, a Spanish guy. A lot of people are saying that Rodri is the only reason this guy's not playing on the Spanish national team. So, I like him as well. Jeff, do you have another defensive midfielder, or were those two the guys you selected? Which is fine. I'm just asking because I have one more.
The next guy, the only other guy I had he's more of a box to box than he is defensive, but Nicolo Barella from Inter. 27, I think his market value says 80 million euros. He's like, he's in the prime. Like he is, the heart and soul of that team. And again, he's a guy that you put him and McAllister in the midfield, and you can let Zoboslai and Elliott like just run rampant up and down, just go. They'll take care of everything else. And then you maybe don't even need an Endo, you know what I mean, or something if you have those two guys kind of interchanging that defensive role, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just think he's dynamic. Again, you watch tape on him and it's just you smile, like it's smooth.
Yeah,
everything about it just flows. Very Italian in that way. You know what I mean? Just like technical, smart. Has that small bit of flair, but it's not too flashy, like that sort of thing. So,
yeah, Barella, right? Yeah, he's solid. He was on our wish list last year too.
Yeah, and that's the thing is we keep getting linked with him, and it's like I don't try to pay attention to any of these things that we're linked with because they're all nonsense.
Right.
But it would be very nice.
Yeah, he would be a dream for sure. I wonder if Liverpool last year was looking at him and then looked at Szoboszlai and we're just thinking maybe, we save a couple dollars and go with him. You're right, though. They are kind of different players, but I wonder if that was a thought process last year.
Yeah, and, Zoboszlai definitely plays, at least for Hungary, he plays more of a forward role. You know what I mean? So he's much more an offensive type of player versus, a couple of these guys are just traditional box to box where they do everything. So it's hard to really say, they're really very strict on like, are they defensive center mid or are they, just a regular like number 8 kind of traditional, in the mold of a Steven Gerrard, who just does everything.
Right. So this is the guy I landed on for. Barella is a very good choice. I would definitely choose Barella over the guy I'm about to choose. But I think with the way FSG does their kind of business and Edwards is pretty kind of savvy, I landed on Youssouf Fofana from Monaco. And he's wanted by United and AC Milan now. Actually, Monaco raised the price recently from $32.5 million to 38 because they were getting strong interest from these two rivals. And I wonder specifically if they put it up to 38 because the United tax, as I like to call it, teams find out.
All Premier League clubs get it.
Yeah, but United gets a little extra, I think, like, oh, United want them. They have money. They'll pay whatever. But this guy, he is, when I was looking at kind of statistics and kind of analysis, literally it says no significant weaknesses in his like scouting report. He's 6'1". He's big. He's strong. He gets in there. His highlights, he's very slick with the ball as far as getting out of trouble. Loves getting stuck in, has like quick feet and just a big, strong dude. And I think for that price to get, again, a 25-year-old that we can sign for a 4-5-year deal, you're getting a guy that's going to just like really, really enter his prime. He even made a couple appearances in the Euros for France. So this guy he's proven, and he's been playing also since 2020. And the only thing that kind of alarmed me a little bit, right? I thought, oh, is he a little bit like Konate, like he gets injured a lot? So I was like, let me look at his injury history. He missed 1 game last year because he was sick. He missed 2 or 3 games a year before that because he got COVID. And then he missed like 15 games a year before that for an ankle injury. So 18 games over 3 years, that's not bad. So I really liked Youssouf Fofana from Monaco, as that would be my choice. But Barella from you, if we could afford him, I think that's the guy. But I think that's just a little bit outside of the way FSG does business, and I think Fofana kind of fits that mold.
Yeah, I think you're right in terms of the price tag. Like, I'm trying to remember the last time we spent more than, I think we spent 80 on Virgil.
Yeah, like 65 million. It was pounds though, but yeah, probably 80 million euros. Yeah.
I'm just saying. And I was trying to stay away from people that like I've read we've been linked to or like rumored with, but one of them that like just I couldn't shake was Ederson from Atalanta, and he fits exactly the mold that you're talking about, where just strong, very technical, 25 years old, Brazilian. His value is at 40 million euros.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know what I mean? Like he ticks all the boxes of like this type of player that Liverpool would be willing to go after. And this would be like that step up for him career wise. Just a lot of things make sense with a guy like that. So
that's just, is that the same Ederson that played for Chelsea for a little bit?
I don't think he played for Chelsea. But I could be wrong. I mean, I didn't go back that far.
Yeah. It would have been like a couple of years ago. So if he's probably been over at Atalanta for a while then. Okay.
No, yeah, he joined Atalanta in 22. Yeah, it doesn't give his history. It's weird.
All right. I'm fairly certain he did, but regardless. Yeah, I like him too. I think that's another guy that kind of fits the mold. Like, like we're talking here. It's exciting to talk about transfer rumors and transfer news and adding players. So like Chelsea and Newcastle and like these teams that just continue to add players. Like, I get it. It's exciting. It really is. However, However, the way Liverpool does business, even though sometimes it's a little bit boring, it really does kind of play into that financial fair play. They're very fiscally responsible. They're not going to just kind of shell out a bunch of money and put the team in debt. They spread the money around to different players. They look for the deal. There's a deal somewhere here that we probably haven't even looked at, that Edwards and company are looking at, So
yeah. We were never going to get like Mbappe. That was never part of the play. Like, it would have been great. Don't get me wrong, but like he A, would have cost too much. B, would have it changes the dynamic of the team so drastically that it becomes, your robbing Peter to pay Paul kind of situation. And I don't know how that really benefits us overall.
Yeah.
Putting in a piece of the puzzle versus, you know what I mean, like blowing it up and starting over. Like that's definitely more the alignment, I think, at this point.
Yeah. And Bellingham, the same thing. He wasn't much, and I think he went for 80 something,
105, something like that.
Yeah, and then we turn around and we're going to shell out 110 million pounds for Moises Caicedo, and I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Why didn't we just go after Bellingham? But I guess when Real Madrid comes calling, that's where the players want to go, and I get it. It's beautiful. Yeah. Beautiful city, like nice weather, fantastic club. Like, I get it.
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah.
All right. What was one of your other areas of need that you identified?
So central defense, I looked at it, right, and I thought, all right, Virgil's getting up there a little bit. I like Kwanzaa as a natural replacement for him at some point in time.
Sure.
I think he's smooth. He's very calm and, tall. I'd like to see him, get a little bit more muscle. And, he made a couple mistakes last year, but I mean, who doesn't? It's he's young. He's through the academy. There's a lot of good things, right, about him.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
Totally.
Konate, when he's on, I mean, how fast he is, how big and physical he is when he's on it. He's fantastic. So I like him. The injury history kind of hurts a little bit with him. Then we got Joe Gomez, and utility player. But he is technically a central defender. But we get
the injury record also stinks. Like,
yeah. But also he had a good season last year. He played different positions. He was able to be plugged in, and that's, like you said, that's always useful, right? So,
Yeah.
and then, Williams and Phillips, which I think these guys, they did a great job for us a couple years back, but realistically, they're not, top level players. So I thought, okay, let me look at central defenders. And, the top 25 list is just the who's who. I mean, it's unbelievable. You look at these players and you're just like, there's no chance that team would let them go. There's no chance. So I thought, what about Sepp Vandenberg? Do we already have it in-house? He's Dutch.
Yeah.
He had a very good season for Mainz in the Bundesliga last year. He was top 5 in several different statistics.
Mm-hmm.
He's 22 years old. He's Dutch. I could not come up with one other than just, let's give this kid a shot.
I don't disagree. He joined Liverpool with such like fanfare of like, this could be the next coming, and like he's just got to grow into his body was like a lot of what the talk was about. And I think he should be given a shot. That was the other message that I think I've read the most, is that Arne Slot doesn't want to make any, major decisions on transfers right now because he kind of wants to see what he has, like including him, Sepp, and then, the other one is like Fabio Carvalho,
right,
who's been out on loan, like people like that who could probably just jump and slide right on into the first team and do a job, but and they cost us zero money in addition to what we're already paying. So I mean, that definitely is one of those where like I agree with you. And there's also been talk again of, this is where like the academy kids, like, is there anybody in the academy that might be the next Quanta? Is that an option? But that being said, I mean, if we're kind of following the exercise here, are we, looking outside of the team and everything? I was super impressed with Mark Guehi on England.
Oh yeah.
He was so composed on the ball, and that is like, and Stones next to him, who was also, obviously on City, and like, that is part of, bread and butter for them. So it's like two of those guys back there that changed the whole look and feel of them on the pitch. I would love to see him in a red shirt. Like he's all right. So let's see. He's 24 years old. He's 6'3". His value right now is like 38 million euros. So it's a little high. Don't get me wrong. And the other thing that I did read recently is that their Crystal Palace is like asking for like 60 something. So it's, they're trying to capitalize, obviously, which makes sense. But like he was just so impressive. Like, is it realistic? I don't know. I don't think it's unreal money. I just don't know if that's where they want to spend the most of their money, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And I guess that's where I go with like, do they do a Sepp Vandenberg and try that this season? And if it really doesn't work out, try to find somebody in January or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that's a great shout, man. Yeah, he had a really good Euro. It was, and he had a pretty decent year last year too. That team, with Elise gone to Bayern, I'm just not sure what exactly their plans are. I guess, stupid money would pry anybody away from any team, but yeah, you're right. 60 million's a lot, especially when, you got 1, 2, 3, 4 like solid center backs in your squad, a young guy that could kind of, break through. No, I hear you. I like that a lot. That's a really good one, Jeff. Do you have another one?
Yeah, the backup to that for me would be Christian Romero from Tottenham, from Argentina. Mm-hmm. He's another one that he just smooth on the ball. He's a nasty piece of work too. Like he'll get stuck in, and I like that. I like that a lot. And I think so. He at Tottenham, he's alongside Van de Ven.
Yeah, Mickey Van de Ven. Yep,
super fast.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's one of those where like they make a nice 1-2 partnership there. And, if he's somebody that could be available, that would also, I think he would fit well with how we play and what we do. I don't know if he's really up for sale either, though. I know Guahi's been talked about being sold, whereas there's no rumors on Romero going anywhere.
Yeah. Those are two good ones. Do you have another one?
No, I just picked a couple.
Oh, that's good.
I think I don't think they're going to end up signing one, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah.
No.
I'm going to throw a different one at you here. This is a kind of if-then situation, right? So left back, right? We have Robo, awesome, happy with him. He started to break down a little bit last year. He's played so many games the last 5 years. You could kind of see that coming. The guy that really impressed me in the Premier League last year played for Luton Town and was Alfie Doughty. Left footer, strong, fantastic crossing of the ball, good statistics in that area and good statistics in key passing. So his, Luton Town dropped down to the Championship, so he'd be a kind of like a Robertson situation. He's available. Yeah, he's available for under $11 million. So, that's his market price. So, I think that guy to debutize Robo, but this is kind of if Tsimikas leaves, right? And I don't see why Tsimikas wouldn't want to go get playing time somewhere. I think,
I think he loves Liverpool. I really do think he's, genuinely, he's very happy with his situation. I'm sure he makes a good wage. He does play in all the cup stuff, so FA Cup and Caribou. So he does get some time, some run. I'm with you. It's, if you're a top level athlete like that, you want to play. But
yeah, the big thing with him, I think, is there was rumblings of him wanting to leave, because even when Robo was out, sometimes he didn't start. It was our guy Joe Gomez who started it. So I wonder if he's just kind of thinking here, am I third on the pecking order? Second, I can deal with, because like you said, they play a lot of games. He will get some game time. I just really Alfie Doughty's 24 years old. He had 34 appearances last year, 2 goals, 8 assists, very good campaign, a team that attacked, a guy that kind of flew up and down the left, very, very similar to Robertson. I thought I was looking at Robertson just younger. He's a little bit thicker than Robo, but he is, I think that would be fantastic business to get him, and probably letting Tsimikas go.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you. It's one of those where once one goes, it changes the dynamic a lot. It's also going to be a new system. So what is going to be asked of the outside backs compared to in the last system with Klopp? So, another, talking about left backs or just wing backs in general, the two people that impressed me a lot were Anthony Robinson from the US, plays for Fulham. Mm-hmm. I really I thought he had a really good Copa, and his style of play fits really well with how we generally play. So I think he could actually do very well if we were in a position that we did need to do that. And the other one was Jeremy Frimpong from Leverkusen.
Yeah.
So I was really, really impressed with him. But yeah, I tried to stick to just central defenders, and that's why I really only had the 2 that I kind of came up with that would fit the style and system. And there's definitely more, and I kind of didn't have a ton of time to really dig into the crates for this, but at the same time, I think I'm also looking at people that are going to step in and just could supplant somebody in the starting lineup. You don't even like names that could actually just walk in and not just be a fringe player, but could actually be an impact player.
No, all the names you've brought up have been really good. Frimpong is is fantastic. He's, I mean, he's more like a right midfielder than he is a defender. And yeah, he's
like Davies from Bayern.
yeah,
you know what I mean. Like you'd call him a left back, but I mean, he doesn't do a lot of defending. I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
much.
He's pretty awesome. Yeah. The final question I want to just back up to defensive midfielder. Do you think that with Bajcetic and Endo, those two can just kind of ride it out and be able to, do the job that, we kind of expect from a number 6 throughout this season? And the second thing is Arne Slot's in a super hard position, right? Because like you're saying, he's assessing people and people are still coming back weekly, right? There are guys,
right.
There are guys that played, well into the, mid-July, and they need time off. So it's got to be so hard to figure out as a new coach, what's what, who he likes in what position. I think as Liverpool fans, Coach and I talked about this, we're going to have to be very, very patient at the beginning of the season because August 17th is right around the corner and we don't even have our full team back. We have, a lot of guys, I think 4 guys from Copa and a couple guys, from the Euros. So that's 6 players that just aren't there yet. So, but back to the Bajcetic and Endo thing. Do you think they're 2 guys that can maybe, put it together for the season?
Honestly, if that's who we have for that position, I'm happy with it. When Bajcetic was on before, like he had 2 horrible injuries, so like back to back. So we really haven't seen him grow into who he was really growing into at the time. I think he could easily be the long-term solution in that position, just based on the data that we have on him right now, right? Endo, to me, even at, what is he, 30 or 31 or something like that?
Yeah, I think he's 31. He's turning 32 this year, something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, Endo to me is totally serviceable another season or few seasons if needed, you know what I mean? So I'm happy with both of them. Endo played terrific last year. I know we fell off. I agree with you on that, where like he just got tired and that happens. I also think that's part of like it's your first season in the Premier League. Things are a little different. Lots more games, etc. So I think a season under his belt might make a difference in how he prepares and how he's utilize. But I like them as like a 1-2 punch and being able to split up some of the play time and keep them fresh, hopefully off the injury table. But I'm totally happy with the 2 of them and that role right there.
Yeah, and worst case, McAllister drops there, and then you got Szoboszlai and Harvey Elliott doing their thing. Like that doesn't suck.
And Gravenberch can also function in that role. Mm-hmm. So you know what I mean? Like maybe not ideal or his like top position, but like definitely serviceable.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so you have some forwards, right?
Yeah, I did this in kind of 2 different styles because I got to tell you, I'm losing patience with Nunez. I love him for the fire, that he has, but like he cannot convert. Like it's not great, and we're gonna need more from somebody that's on the field as much as him. You know what I mean? If you're on the field that much and you're in front of goal that much and you're getting opportunities that much, your conversion rate needs to be better. And it's now 2 seasons, so I'm starting to think like bring somebody in and be like, if you don't do it, you're going to sit down and somebody else is going to do it. You know what I mean? That's my thoughts. So I have like a couple people that are like more, let's just say pure strikers. And then I have a couple others that are more like, could be like Salah's replacement, let's say.
Okay. Let's hear it.
So my realistic one is Alexander Isak.
Oh, yeah.
From Newcastle. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he Um, Swedish by background. He can play out on the wing as well. Kind of, I actually look at him a little similar to Gakpo. To be on the wing, can do that thing, but like can play in the middle and can be a poacher. He's only 24, 6'3". In 27 games, he scored 21 goals and 2 assists. So talk about conversion rate. That is exactly what you're looking for. And he knows the Premier League. He knows how to actually, work in this environment. His market value right now is 75 million euros. So I don't know if that's going to work out, but I mean, like, that's cheap in those, today's marketplace. So I think that he would be a phenomenal choice in a red shirt to like lead the line up front in the middle.
Yeah, I had him as well. I think he's, you kind of compared him to Gakpo. I think in size and demeanor, they're very similar. I think Isak is way more clinical than Gakpo, but I really like him as a player. He's shifty. He's very skinny, and he still kind of, doesn't get bounced off the ball left and right. Very instinctual finisher. And especially when you kind of put that against Darwin, every article you read about Darwin, the first sentence is the chaotic forward. Like literally every.
Yeah. He's a cartoon character.
Yeah, the chaotic forward, and Darwin does so many good things, right? Like so many. It's just the one thing that like seems the easiest, especially the ones that he misses. It's just like, my God.
Like you and I could put those in if we're just standing there. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's right there. Like, it's very frustrating, like, to say the least. And I just don't know how much latitude do you give somebody before you go, like, maybe he's better off in La Liga or, something like that. And he'll probably score 50 goals and be a phenom in a league like that. But he's just not doing it in the Premier League because he had a crazy goal return before coming to Liverpool. So, it's just not working. I personally would rather see Jota start and leave Nunez on the bench and have Nunez come in at like the 65th minute and just cause havoc on a tired defense and, maybe get his goals that way. But that's up to somebody else, not me.
Yeah, no, I completely hear you. I think another one that, there's two guys that I think also would be good Liverpool players. I think Callum Wilson for Newcastle. He gets injured a lot, but that guy knows how to find the back of the net. And, Newcastle was kind of in a dilemma last year. They're like, oh, we got to play one of them and blah, blah, blah. And when they both played together, they were a heck of a partnership. Now, can Callum Wilson kind of lead the line? What I worry about when I look at the forwards is like, can they kind of do that counter press, right? We know Slot does it but it's going to be different than Klopp's. But there is a counter press, and like, how does that look with a guy, like Ivan Toney? I like Ivan Toney a ton. I think he's really good player. I don't know though that he's the kind of player that will kind of run the ball down, kind of similar to Darwin, similar to Jota, like similar to the guys that kind of understand the system, even Lucho. So, I like Callum Wilson a lot. I think, I don't think he's a lot of money, and he could, it's not Isak by any stretch, but he could come in and do the job. The problem I think we might have is, like you said, to bring Darwin in to kind of create havoc, chaos on on a tired defense. Yeah. I think Callum Wilson kind of does the same thing. So Ivan Toney, on the other hand, what I like about his game is he can bring the team into it, right? So you can knock it into him. He can hold it up. He can kind of bring the team up, which I really like. I don't know. I think those three guys are probably the guys, but Ben Doak is, had a heck of a career in the academy. He's like a pure goal scorer. I mean, very fast, was getting by people very easily. And, Carvalho's got some, he's got something to say. He had a good, first season and then just fell. I don't know. There's stories he fell out of favor with Klopp and blah, blah, blah. And he wanted to go play, get minutes. And I get it. And he had actually not a very good stint at Leipzig and had a pretty decent stint at Hull City. But yeah. So
I agree with you. I think Doak, this is where, like I said before, Arne Slot giving some of these guys a chance and like seeing what he has, opposed to, assuming that this guy's out of favor and that, like everything's different now, right? New boss, whole new coaching staff. Like it really is a fresh start for so many. And like some of these guys, like Fabio might come in and all of a sudden light the world on fire again. I mean, he has the talent, right? So it's like, is it going to show and is he going to get the opportunity? And so I don't know, that's the thing.
Yeah. Do you have another forward or is...
Yeah, I did like a reach for the stars kind of thing. Like if I had, if money wasn't an issue kind of situation. And it's a little obvious, but Victor Osimhen from Napoli, he wants to leave. He's 25. Yeah, he's 25 years old. He's 6'1", from Nigeria. Like he's just a specimen. He's in his prime. I think his value is around 100 million. You're talking about a certified stud. He's proven it. He's proven it in Champions League. He's proven it domestically. Like he absolutely can be that guy. I don't know if he's got the right mentality and attitude for the Premier League, but I mean, we have Nunez now that we know is got some frailties in that department, but I don't know. That was my other sort of like, as I was looking through for like direct center forward types instead of like a winger type.
He's a dream. Like that would be incredible. I mean, when you say certified stud, like for real, I mean, big, powerful goal scorer. And, I kind of weigh forwards that do well in Italy a little bit more. And the reason being is that the Italian defense is always, like it's in their blood. They know how to defend. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. They just know how to organize. It's like they're very, very tough.
Yeah. And the defenders there are always super tough. And the fact that he's just, I mean, lit Syria on fire. He would be fantastic.
Yeah, I didn't know he had a bad year last year, or like he fell off from his previous season. But it was a lot of drama. Like Napoli itself sold some of their key players. Like they got rid of the coach. Remember, like suddenly the coach was like mad here. All that stuff was going on. So I mean, I really think that he has that in his locker. It's not like all of a sudden he's not good because he had a bad season last season. But he would be an absolute dream to head up and put people like Diaz and Salah on the side of him, or Gakpo. Like, come on.
Yeah.
It's just silly at that point.
Yeah. The forgotten guy, you mentioned him, within Liverpool is Jota. If he can stay healthy, that dude, like his conversion rate is ridiculous.
Yeah, he's just a natural goal scorer. So the absolute natural.
Yeah, it's really impressive. When Coach and I did the end of the season podcast, and we were kind of like looking at stats, and I mean, Darwin was creating way more opportunities. Granted, he played a lot more because Jota got hurt, but like Jota's like conversion rate was just ridiculous. He's, he can score with his head. Okay, he's not like a big dude, but he's quick. Right foot, left foot, can score with his head. Always kind of finds his way into situations, and always kind of seems to be there. I thought he was very unlucky towards the end of the season not to score a couple goals. Like, he was right there. He was just a little bit out of shape, a little bit not up to game speed. But I think you're right, man. I think Jota, Salah, Diaz, or Gakpo, and then we also have the potential people leaving with, Diaz, Salah potentially. It's almost like, yeah, let's sell somebody so we can bring somebody in so we get like excited about it. But you're like, man, I wish Diaz scored a little bit more too, but god damn, that guy runs up and down. And Salah, I mean, year after year, he had like somewhat of an off year last year, and he still had like 19 goals, Yeah. So it's just like, so I don't know. I think really when we kind of look at all this, the team's in good shape because there's not like one area where we're like, man, maybe like center striker, right? But we know Jota can do the job. So it's just like, we have the guys. Some health would be beautiful, for once. And maybe, the Klopp's style, I mean, he runs his players into the ground. He asks a lot from them. And year after year, we saw like the finishing, the end of the season being really tough.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I also, like, again, part of the whole like Klopp era, like if you look back, a big piece of it was incorporating the youth team and finding these little gems and kind of nurturing them and bringing them into actual like real players in the team. Look at Kwanzaa as an example from last year, and even Trent, I guess you could kind of say was like still not really a starter, and then like Klopp really got him into that kind of mold. But he definitely has incorporated a lot of these youngsters into the team, even if they're just like, they're getting 10 minutes off the bench. It's like, yeah, but at 17 or 18, like, that's amazing. I kind of looked at one last person that would fit more that mold, but could still like threaten the first team. And it's Arda Güler from Real Madrid, the guy from Turkey.
Sick.
So he's, 19 years old, 6 foot. So for Turkey, he played in the center. He didn't play on the wing. So like, wow, okay. So if he's versatile and can play kind of across the front, he's only valued for 45 million euros. So like that would be reasonable. You know what I mean? I know he's still young, but he's a starter for his national team. He was getting some minutes for Real Madrid. I mean, he had 6 appearances for 4 goals the end of last year. So, he's not had a ton of opportunity there, which makes me think maybe even alone, like get him over and put him in the lineup and see what happens.
Yeah, he's not getting in that team. Yeah. That's just the bottom line. Vinicius.
Where are you going to fit?
Yeah, Vinicius Jr.
Rodrigo going to sit on the bench? Like, unless they sell Rodrigo, who we've also been linked with, which would be great, but not for 110 million euros.
I like Rodrigo. I don't love Rodrigo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would rather like Florian Wirtz.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like, personally. Yeah, there's definitely a few other names I like, ran through, but like Florian Wirtz was one that Jamal Musiala is another, like, just versatile players, can play in midfield, can play up front. They're very disciplined, very technical. Like, these are definitely guys that I would love to see in a red shirt. I don't know. Florian Wirtz, I know, is like on the market. I don't know if we're like top destination for him or not. So maybe. I also think that his cost is going to turn prohibitive. Like, I think his value is rising and rising and rising. It's getting out of hand. So
yeah, they're
priced out of that.
Right. And Germany, had a pretty decent Euro, and he definitely played well. And the things he did for Bayer Leverkusen last year, just, mind blowing. He's such a good player. Like, let's say we don't make anything significant from a transfer aspect, and nothing really changes.
Yes.
I think it's a missed opportunity, and this is why I say that. I say it because I think with everybody having a clean slate, having a couple of new faces would kind of really ignite a little bit more competition and would kind of keep the kind of the old guard on their toes. I think it would be wonderful. However, I also am completely okay with the team as it is.
Yeah. I was just about to say, like, if we didn't make any moves whatsoever, I still would be okay with the team that we have. And I think that team that we have, this is all like barring injuries. That's the other problem, that like, as you start looking at, this person goes down, you go, now we're thin at that position. It's like, well, yeah, those are the chances you have to take. Like, not everybody can be City and have like 2 full 11s of absolute superstars. You know what I mean? So that's kind of, where the way I look at it is like, if we were just, this is the squad, this is who we have, I still think we're doing all right. I still think we're competing for the title. I still think we're doing things in Champions League. Like, I don't have an issue with how that works. So I think you're right, though. I think the reason why you bring in new faces is for that competition piece. I think that kind of exists by nature because of the new coach now, though, anyway. So even guys that are like, oh, I'm the starter and left back, it's like, well, I mean, you go down and get injured and the other guy's playing well, that guy, Arnie doesn't have any history with you. Like, he doesn't owe you. There's no loyalty. Where Klopp, like, you're going back into that spot. You're his guy. You've been with him for years, right? So, like, I think that's where some of this changes, like, dynamically. And some of the youngsters might push some of the older guys, and, maybe there is a shift, where one guy gets supplanted and now he's no longer the certified starter.
Yeah, and that happens all the time, every year in every league on a lot of teams, right? Like, that's going to happen. Somebody's going to step up. Harvey Elliott, I think, was a perfect example last year. End of the season, he was in every game. He was producing. He was playing well. I know technically he was bought, but he's kind of, a guy that was in the academy, went over to Blackburn Rovers, comes back, crushes it. I mean, it's just like, those stories are awesome too. Like, to have players like that, like, start to perform well and start to really say, hey, I'm right on your heels. Don't mess up, because I'm right there.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. That's so. I think we have a good mix of young talent and like some seasoned veterans, and there's I think the new coach does make a difference, but I don't think it makes as big a difference than on other teams it might. I think it's going to be a bit easier of a transition. But again, like, there's a loyalty factor that I think Klopp had with certain guys that will not happen now, and that stuff's going to have to get built out and reestablished. And some guys may not want to bother. We're like, listen, if you don't just give me my job, then I'm just going to like go somewhere.
Yes.
Wait, you know what I mean? It very well could happen.
Yeah, you're right. Well, folks, Jeff and I have been talking for almost an hour about this. We could probably talk for another hour. We ran through a lot of different players. Barella was a big one. We talked about, pie in the sky, Victor Osimhen. We talked, some defensive midfielders. I really liked, my guy was, let me find him. Where'd he go? Youssouf Fofana from Monaco. I think that would be really beneficial. He's a good player. And then, we just kind of really tackled a lot of different things too, even center back. But we've said this several times, and I think this is the way we're going to end it. The team is in good shape, and that's why we're not seeing a lot of stuff. So hope everybody enjoyed the podcast. Jeff, thank you so much for joining me, and we will catch you guys next time. Everybody take care. Liverpool fans, thank you so much for listening to the Liverpool Reaction, an American LFC podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show and would greatly appreciate your support. Please leave a 5-star review and feel free to email us at tlrlfcpodcast@gmail.com. Looking forward to hearing from you. Till next time.